All right, mic check, mic check. Okay, we're looking good. We're looking good. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Femboy Files Conspiracy. Now, today we will be interviewing Shaq. Now, if you've seen some of the other parts of the Femboy Files Conspiracy, Shaq is a kind of a guy that he was my consultant for this, kind of like trying to figure out what's going on here. But when I did some digging on him, we kind of found some like strange oddities that we're hoping to kind of go over for the stream. Now, the kind of theme that we keep on getting when we go through these interviews is like, we interviewed Big Thunder. Big Thunder said, go talk to Shaq. You know, he's probably the guy to talk to concerning this conspiracy. So after that, we interviewed Gleroy. Now, Gleroy also suspected that Shaq is kind of like a conspirator himself and kind of like the kind of background character forcing this stuff on through. So we're gonna talk to him. We're gonna try to clear up some of this, some of the evidence that's been levied against him. We're trying to clear up things such as like, did Big Thunder try to convince Shaq to become a femboy, or did he not do that? We're just gonna try to answer up all the questions that we have left over from the last interview. So let me go ahead and get him on stream. Give me 1 second. Alrighty, good evening, Mr. Shaq. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Let me make sure your audio is working. Say something. Ooh, your audio's, hang on, your audio's not coming in. 1 second. Wait. Oh, that's why. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, now say something.
Hello.
Okay, there you are. There you are. How are you doing today, Mr. Shaq?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing fine. So I understand that you're pretty eager to have this interview, and I'm happy that you're here to help kind of clear up some details and indulge me in the stream in some questions. Now, we're going to try starting this off kind of slow and easy, and we'll kind of build up to some of the bigger stuff that we have. So
Yeah.
firstly, there's been a lot of stuff that's kind of floated on around you. So let's start off with getting into who you are, squared away first, and some side questions squared away before we get to kind of the heart of the issues. So in my kind of chart, I had you listed and labeled as kind of like this schizo member of the group.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that assessment, or would you consider yourself like some other role here?
I would not agree with that assessment. As you can see in the exact chart that you're mentioning, I did my own label.
Oh, you did your own chart?
Yeah.
You'll do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I do have it ready.
So
Okay. So, okay. All right. I just pulled up your chart for the stream. You have yourself labeled as the scapegoat. Do you think that's the role you kind of occupy?
obviously, yeah.
Okay. Why would you say that you're like this? Why would you label yourself a scapegoat as like a role? I think that's kind of like a weird role to have within a group, you know?
I would agree. That is weird. But you see,
agree?
3 independent parties, unassociated with each other, allegedly on the surface, have each come at me for blame on this whole goose situation. I think it's pretty clear that I've become the scapegoat of the situation.
Okay. All right. I like it. Okay. Besides like outside of the situation, just kind of like going into the group dynamics, what role do you think you occupy within like everybody here besides like scapegoat? Or is like scapegoat, do you think like your dedicated role?
I think it's a role that I fill most often.
Okay. I was trying to think about roles for you, and it's like I could see you like being like a video game sweat per se. Would you think that's like more better?
Yeah, of course. That'd be, syncing up. Schizo is, an attempt to invalidate my counter arguments to the scapegoat attempts before they are even made by labeling me off as a schizophrenic.
Wow, that's a pretty hefty accusation there, Mr. Shaq.
But it's accurate.
It's accurate. Okay. We'll get into it. Let's look at the rest of this chart real quick. So
Yeah.
you have True Bear as the instigator. Interesting. Most people kind of just had him as like the charismatic leader role. Do you think that he had some role between like within here in the Femboy Files?
I think there's a connection.
You think there's a
However,
connection?
I don't think he's a guilty party.
Okay, interesting. So we'll go ahead and talk about like his connection once we get like actually into the heart of the issue. You have me, who I labeled myself as a shit poster. Do you disagree with the shit poster label?
No, I think that is an accurate way to describe you. I think that's a solid label.
That's a solid label. Okay, fair enough. But you also have me labeled as a Pharisee. Like,
Correct.
I wouldn't say that like I'm trying to crucify anyone. Would you say that?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So would you like to elaborate on the Pharisee label?
You see, the Pharisees loved judging people for crimes they themselves were guilty of.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So,
see, when you've been on here two streams in a row coming at me, if we take that back to the Pharisees, this is when I would draw in the sand. I'd write your sin, and you'd see your sin, and you'd walk off. That's what would be going on right now.
Okay, is that your intention for the stream? Is to like expose like me, the investigator, and all this?
You, along with other guilty parties.
Damn. Okay. All right. Well, we'll hold on to this Pharisee title for now. I would not like to talk about John P. that much. And I see that you have it blacked out.
Yeah.
For those who know, I'm having some ongoing legal issues with John's Box concerning their sponsorship. Now, I have some news for that we'll get into a little bit later in the stream, so we're going to skip over that. T-Rex, you have him as pizza dependent. Would you say that he has like any role in the conspiracy here? I've tried to look into him. I can't really find anything, but you may know more.
The situation is too far removed from pizza for him to be involved.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if anyone in the chat has said anything thus far. Pizzagate. Okay, true. Okay. If any of you guys have any questions in chat that you want to ask, feel free to go ahead and pose those. I do see some minor shit posting in chat, though, so I'm not going to read all that. Okay, continuing. Gleroy, who was the suspect in the last interview I did, he tried to deny being a furry, but you have him as furryism incarnate. Now, give me 1 second. I had a note on this. Okay, yeah. So you have him as like furryism incarnate. Would you say that he still is a furry, despite he himself saying he's not a furry?
I'll play devil's advocate and look at this from his point of view. Let's say he wasn't a Fury anymore.
Yep.
There is no person who is not a furry who acts more like a furry, if that makes sense. You know?
There's some stuff I really want to talk about with that interview, but I think there is like some oddities that kind of surfaced with like his own self-identity on this. Let's skip that for now. I'll definitely bring it up here in a second. So, okay, Gleroy also had some accusations that he made against this next guy, Chungus Meatsucker. Now, we all know him as an exotic dancer. I don't know if you saw the interview we had with him. What do you think of Mr. Chungus?
I have some my own thoughts about his involvement in the situation. We'll get into that later. But I definitely think there is a lack of innocence in that side of the case.
You think there's a lack of innocence? Okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
I have evidence to back my claims.
Okay, very good. You have Goose as the victim of the Femboy lovers. Lovers is interesting because that implies there's more than one conspirator. I tend to agree. I think there is probably more than one person that is involved with all this. So I like what I'm seeing. Femboy, no Femboy yet. I mean, like that's. Would you say they were better off for no Femboy, or do you think that all of this is kind of like indicating that we may need one?
I think a standard social circle that's healthy does not need a femboy. I think there are certain people here who need a femboy to satisfy their desires and protect their bottom line.
Protect their bottom line. Okay. I'm trusting that you have some like sluggers for some of the things you're saying for this. So I'm excited to see whoever you're alluding to get exposed or
Oh yeah.
the parties that you're alluding to. So, have you seen a lot of the Femboy Files conspiracy? Like, it seems like you've done a lot of your own work into it. Like, what have you thought about the my side so far?
I think that it is propaganda designed
Propaganda.
from a party wanting to wash their hands of the situation, like
Okay.
Pontius Pilate did to Jesus.
Who's Jesus in this scenario? Since you're the
No
scapegoat.
one. No, no,
Oh,
no
okay.
one. No one. No.
Okay.
It's like that. You're sentencing certain people to death and then washing your hands of it as if you've had no role in the act.
Circle back to what you said.
This would be played live on Canadian news stations.
Okay. All right. To circle back to what you said, I am not going to be the one making judgments concerning this case.
No, you don't need to. You just need to paint the picture of the situation in a certain light that clearly points in a certain direction, but you don't have to say it because it's obvious enough that there's only one conclusion can be drawn from the smoke and mirrors of the charade, if you will.
So you think that everything I got going on is a charade right now?
I think it's a clever scheme. Yes.
Clever scheme. Okay. I'm gonna avoid going into this right at this second, just because I don't want things to derail before I get some like small things out of the way. I want to get like the small crap out of the way. But what you say is very, very interesting. Okay. So as you know, leading up to this moment, a lot of like public sentiment has kind of gone against you. I know, like me myself, I strongly suspect you to be kind of the beating heart of the Femboy Files conspiracy. But looking at the others for now, Big Thunder said that you were the man to come talk to when it came to finding culprits. And Gleroy also suggested that you were kind of the guilty party when it came to the conspiracy. If you are not a conspirator, why do you think that these people are naming you specifically? Is it just because you're the easy scapegoat, would you say?
Yes.
So, okay. All right.
See, there's no one else they can really go to. See, obviously, they go to John Paul, they're dead.
Okay.
You're involved. Chungus Meatsucker's involved. Gleroy's involved. That Trexcellent, he only cares about pizza.
Yeah, he doesn't even.
True Bear, he's kind of like that one fucking Eldar god in Warhammer that escaped, Slaaneish's birth, that just goes around pranking people. Like, you can't really do anything to him. He's just there doing what he wants.
Yeah.
And obviously Goose is already the victim. They can't place him under wanting to turn himself into a femboy. That'd be ridiculous. I'm the only remaining party that they can try to push blame on.
Okay. And you think that there's been a lot of effort to kind of push the blame onto you?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Do you think that there's a lot of coordination behind the scenes for this, or do you think that it's kind of just the way that things are playing out?
I think it's possible. However, I've been leaning more towards that it's three separate parties with similar goals. You see, at the end of the day, I think the three people that I think are truly guilty of this are fighting for a femboy for their own nefarious purposes.
Okay. Interesting. I want to give you like your own segment to kind of talk about this. But for now, let's go to like my side of the investigation. Do you think that you have in any way been influenced by Gleroy? Now, Gleroy also said that Big Thunder influenced you. We'll talk about Big Thunder in a second. But do you think that you were the one that kind of posed the question of being around a furry, does that kind of corrupt people? Do you feel like you've been influenced or corrupted by Gleroy, like we talked about in the last interview we did?
I can't remember the exact name of the theory, but there's, it's the whole theory that like violent video games and violent movies can build a desensitization in the youth towards violent activities. It's similar to that, just long-term exposure to a furry. I expect when I see furry things, I'm no longer repulsed. It's repulsing, but I'm no longer surprised. Yeah. It's like I can walk this path and not be like, dude, what am I watching right now? Like take a Puritan and make them play like no Russian. They're going to be mortified kind of thing.
Yep.
but I can play no Russian and realize that I'm not going to shoot up a school, right?
Yep.
Or an airport. It's like that.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right. I kind of have a follow-up question.
Mhm.
Well, let's talk about Leroy for a second before I even ask this question. But this question is going to be kind of like the tail end of things. So one of the things that Leroy said was that you can't be a furry unless you kind of, in a way, sexualize like furryism, right?
Mhm.
Would you say that Leroy has received probably like NSFW furry art of like his characters like
Yes.
Terrace and whatnot?
Yes, he has.
Okay.
He
Okay.
claimed to have not of Terrace, but his others, yes.
Okay. Would you say that NSFW art has been made of Terrace?
Yes.
Okay. You see where the direction this is kind of going. Who happened to have made the NSFW art of Terrace?
Myself.
Okay. All right. How do you kind of rectify that with, parents' kind of corruptive influence?
See, because he was claiming that he wasn't a fur, and he's trying to protect the purity of the quote unquote purity of Terrace, it had to be removed. It had to be taken from him.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And once again, going back to when I play no Russian on Modern Warfare 2, did I shoot up an airport?
Yeah, okay, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, being around it means that, like, you could kind of do something and, like, kind of be detached. But we're talking about making NSFW art of, like, a furry character. And I just wanted to kind of clarify, so you did that, would you say that you were trying to, like, punish Leroy or something like that? Because it's kind of taking away the purity of Terrace's character? Is that where you're going with this?
In a way, yes. And I get the suspicion. However, obviously we can't show it on stream. I don't even know if it's around anymore. Could probably find it in DMs, but it was drawn in MS Paint, and you could barely even tell what's going on. It's not like I drew like the finest detailed picture. It's clearly a shit post.
Okay. So it was
it's
like
gonna be do it.
So it was a shit post just so that way you could just say like, hey, you've made Terrace naked, haha, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what the audience makes of that. Like, I'll buy it for now, just because I know your like painting skills. That it'd be hard, or your drawing skills. It's kind of hard to do something like that, unironically. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll leave it up to the audience interpretation, but I kind of follow what you're saying. All right. Do you think that Perrin's furry sort of influence has influenced anyone else around here? Now, I know I've posted a little bit. I kind of suggested that Goose got influenced. Would you agree with that?
I think, like everybody's a little more desensitized to furryism and furry behaviors. However, I do think certain people are more influenced than myself.
Okay. Would you be comfortable explaining like who you think Leroy's influenced the most? Because maybe they'd be good people looking too harder.
I think it's possible that you and Goose.
Me and Goose, interesting. What you think I've been having any like furryisms myself?
What are your thoughts on Lola Bunny and Space Jam?
Okay, look, Lola Bunny can get it, all right, but like that's so like
tying back to what Perrin said about furryism being an inherently sexual thing. Yeah. You saying Lola Bunny can get it is walking far, past that line of furryism being sexual.
Okay, but like Lola Bunny's built a little bit different. I mean, we could have this discussion, but I think Lola Bunny's an exception to the rule.
Well, just because the bunny's got boobs doesn't mean she's built different than a bunny.
Okay, hang on. Anybody in chat, put a 1 in chat if you think Lola Bunny is an exception, or a 2 if you think that this is like into the furry kind of line of thinking. All right. While chat responds, one of the things that Leroy suggested was that Big Thunder had influenced you, trying to make you become a femboy. Do you think that was true, or do you think that was just a blatant lie?
Blatant lie. Well, he over-exaggerated the extent of Chungus's machinations.
Okay.
Yeah, things never went that far. But I do believe that Chungus is attempting to turn multiple people here into a femboy.
Okay. You think that Chungus is going like Femboy industrial complex right now?
Yes.
Damn. Okay. Uh, all right. Well, would you like to? Do you have like any like evidence or things you'd like to elaborate on that with?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have a. I think I have like a for Shaq thing shared for you that you could throw stuff on.
Mhm.
Here. It's the one that had the
resend, I think.
okay. Let me
Wait, let me. Never mind. I think I found it.
I just reset it in case you need it.
That
Feel
works,
free
that
to like
works.
dump your evidence on Big Chungus here.
Okay. Okay.
Gonna get this out of the way.
So first off, I want to talk about going into the Chungus interview before it went live.
Okay.
Chungus was trying to get me on to Discord and, blast some games, Diablo 4, I think it was. The game doesn't really matter, but I was raiding, so I
Yeah.
couldn't. So he starts wanting me to call myself out,
Whoa.
and that if I don't, there's going to be consequences. So as you can see here,
Whoa.
he's like, you got till 6 or I will roast you in the interview. And he wants me to admit, and because I don't say anything, because I'm not going to negotiate with terrorists, I by consequence I'm roasted in the interview. And he says here, as I told Goose before 6 Mountain Standard Time, if he had chosen either answer, he would be cleared of all charges. This was an attempt at blackmail.
Whoa. Holy cow, this is huge. So you're saying like this guy's trying to like frame you up if you didn't play games with him.
I didn't meet his demands. Yeah, these were threats. I didn't give in to his demands, and so he made good on his threats. He slandered me in the interview.
Holy cow. Okay, this is actually some huge news. So you think that Chungus pointing me towards you was actually just Chungus trying to like get back at you for not doing what he wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be surprised if Chungus has done like stuff like this in the past?
No, I would not. He seemed very natural with it. He seemed very skilled.
Very skilled in like forcing his interactions. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess like Chungus probably had the motive to maybe fabricate some stuff in the interview and maybe try to like shirk off maybe his own blame and try to get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have any other evidence concerning Mr. Chungus trying to like make other people into femboys?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
Preferencing before I send the evidence, we all know Big Thunder.
Yep.
Chungus Meat Sucker, Big Thunder, they're the same person. Big Thunder is always on that grind, both literally and figuratively.
Yep.
He's always working to that next dollar. So I was interested. I wondered if maybe Big Thunder's a pimp, right? And he admits here, Big Thunder has a few girls on payroll, if you get me.
Okay.
So, I was thinking that I believe Big Thunder is looking to turn me, Goose, and yourself into femboys to pimp us out.
Okay. So is this like a inkling that you have, or do you have any like direct like, oh man, I'm going to do this for that?
He hasn't. I've not seen any confessions that you can point out. He's clearly talking about like pimping out Goose, for example. But once again, let's talk about what you know about Big Thunder. He's always working. He's always chasing that next dollar. He's on that grind.
Okay,
wouldn't it make sense to turn? He creates a constantly refueling source of people to pimp out if he starts converting people around him into femboys.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to find any femboys. He doesn't need to go through this process. He gets to have homegrown femboys, fresh off the lot, that he gets to sell for an increased markup.
Yeah,
he's already a pimp. He's threatened you with becoming a femboy.
He did.
You know all the stuff with Goose, and he tried to do it to me in the interview.
That was actually okay. Yeah, he threatened to do things to Goose, and with that threat, that's you and then me. So honestly, one of the questions I think I posed to the Discord was, who do you think is like the kind of the mastermind behind all this? And it was either you or Big Chungus. And like a lot of people went for you, but like seeing this, that's three people. You might be onto something. Okay. I'm gonna try not to get too far into the weeds right now, at least, but not before I talk about my sponsor segment real quick. So before things like actually start to derail, concerning sponsorship, I'm 90% sure the Patreon went back up. We are still continuing the legal case against the Black Box Radio, or John's Box, on Spotify. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't know what this cult is necessarily capable of. For now, Patreon's back up, but I'll be keeping everybody up to date on how that's going. For now, I'm also trying to work out a deal with Big Thunder. Maybe he could become a sponsor on the show. But that's all I want to say with that. But where I'm happy to have the Patreon back. Alrighty. Moving on to question 6. So, with the other two suspects talked about, let's kind of like move towards the evidence surrounding you. Or actually, hang on. Did you have any things you wanted to show us for like Leroy specifically, or?
Yeah. I was hoping we'd circle back to that.
Yeah,
he made a lot of crazy claims.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was something crazy about shadows in the dark, rising objects between me and Big Thunder.
Yeah.
Let me just say, let me get the evidence here. He has a history of fan fiction.
Okay.
It's very common with him. He's clearly mentally ill. I even point that in one of the, the images. Wait, do that right. Here's one, for example. I even say this is a good observation of mental illness. Once again, it's a fanfic between me and a beast man. One could call Big Thunder a beast man.
I mean, it might be your type. Sorry. Continue. It's my bad.
Yeah.
This is a good observation of mental illness. How did you even go this far to find this? Holy smokes, 2021. This is nuts. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Let me not slow your roll here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the others in this folder here.
Do you have a big folder for like talking about this specifically?
I do. Here's the two others. It's just more this Alarak Meadow fanfic. Let me make this clear. He is Meadow. Meadow is one of his characters.
Is it like a furry
his
character?
Own character? And yeah, it at the time was a Worgen warrior on World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I think it's changed a little since this time. But this is him wanting that character in Alarak to have fanfic and for it to become canon.
Yeah.
And then, I don't even know what a Vera is, but, more fanfic of turning Girash into a Vera femboy twink, class horror. Like, it's clear that he has an obsession with fan fiction.
So he has a fan fiction around somebody turning into a femboy. Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Okay.
Yeah.
Of the fanfics you've seen, have any of them gone particularly like sexual? Like, would you say that he's like a furry in sexual nature too?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me grab some more screenshots.
I think we talked about maybe his furry sexuality a little bit earlier, but
here's another thing of what smokes. He messaged me. Yeah, embrace furry femboy cock. It's clearly all sexual for him. Furry. This is 2020. Keep in mind.
Yeah, and it's even talking about like femboy specifically.
Yeah, furry and femboy, and that's he labeled me as a furry femboy in his episode.
So you think that he named you because he's projecting his own like desires onto you?
Yeah, he's clearly wanted to write fanfic of me with a beast man.
Yeah,
clearly wanting me to embrace furry femboy cock. It's been a long, just deeply rooted obsession with him.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a lot of effort to turn you into a femboy, like outside of just Big Thunder? Like
yeah, I think Leroy's pushed it hard, and I think there have been some other people who have pushed it hard.
Yeah. Okay. Let me let you finish getting in the evidence because that's going to be going into your evidence. But do you have anything else on Gleeroy you'd like to post? But this is very damning.
There's some more stuff here. More interesting stuff here. Let me grab that. Related to him and Goose, for instance. There's there. Oh, that's two of them. See, Goose soon, and it's some furry plane stuff. And
okay.
to
Oh
double
my
back
gosh.
to him saying that he's
Goose
reformed. Yeah, here's him in the last 3 months. Terrace, as everyone knows, is his panda persona. This is him saying Terrace is Fuda last November. But we're supposed to believe that he's reformed. He's beaten the allegations.
I don't think this guy beat the allegations. Seeing all this is a lot of dedicated work.
And here's something else. Once again, from this year, you and Goose, and look at that.
Oh.
But we're supposed to believe this guy when he comes on your stream, says he's reformed. This weird story he made up with morphing shadows between me and Big Thunder. I don't see why you could platform this guy and then take his side after it.
I was
to be your job as a content creator to be more responsible.
So I wasn't sure about taking Terrace's side. Like when he was saying that, like, oh man, to be a furry has to be a sexual thing. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't think that's true. Second of all, I don't even think that he's innocent of doing the furry thing. I was meaning to talk about that.
I mean, clearly though, here's you siding with Gleeroy.
Okay.
After the Gleeroy interview,
I even explained to Big Thunder himself. I'm like, dude, I was trying to mess with the remove vote feature, which is I think I didn't even know you could do on polls. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I even talked to Big Thunder about that. I actually didn't think I voted on that one because it was my poll. But yeah. Anyway, that's all very interesting.
So why would you want to remove votes? To try and rig the vote or something? Like, why would you be looking to remove votes?
Well, I clicked on vote, right? And initially I voted no. I'm like, oh wait, what? You can remove it? So I removed it, and I was like, oh cool. And then I must have clicked
initially you voted no and re-voted yes?
I don't think Leroy was telling the truth because his story about this, I barely understood what he said the first time he explained it. Like if you were to rewatch a stream, like he said a story about the shadows morphing, and I had like a 3-second pause because I was trying to like figure out what on earth he just said to me. But anyway, yeah.
Actually, I struggle to understand the thought process of voting no. It's like, oh wait, I voted, and then removing your own vote, and then voting yes.
If you were to scroll up where this screenshot is, I think I asked how to do a poll. Maybe either did that or I googled it. So I did the poll. I just clicked it to see how it worked. I'm like, oh, you could remove votes on a poll. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I just forgot about it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Curious.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think that, and to be fair, right? I think that Big Thunder, after all this, might be kind of the mastermind behind it. So, while I don't, but I'm sorry for implying that you could be the mastermind, having seen the evidence we've gotten so far. Maybe that isn't true. Maybe, like somebody like Big Thunder is like the guilty party behind this. But let's start going into the evidence against you. I think I linked you all 3 of the little docs that I had in the first stream. I'm going to be starting off at Suspect Shaq Part 1, if you want to follow along.
Okay. Let's see.
Let me know when you're ready to go.
Might take a little moment to scroll up. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so we're going to just start off, left to right, and we're just going to go through Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, just kind of go through the evidence. So here at the top left, we have Keir Bear, otherwise known as, Big Keel Bassa. They had posted at the time, a photo of you in a dress. And your response was Photoshopped. Okay. Did you say that was Photoshop?
I mean, you can clearly see the tag from the video game it belongs from.
Okay, yeah, that's convincing it's Photoshop. But you didn't say like, oh man, that's weird. You were just like, who doesn't cross dress, right?
Well, obviously, because it's clearly a joke, my face on a video game character. So obviously, why would I defend myself from that? it'd be a little outlandish to use something like that as evidence against me. So why wouldn't I just play into the bit there?
Okay.
You know?
Okay, and I follow what you're saying. But you also noticed that like Goose kind of dived in to what was happening. You can see here in the bottom left, he posted a GIF of a black man making a kissing face, and kind of stuff like that. Right? He was working on cooking.
See the Kerbier confession that I was photoshopped onto the.
You're right. I forgot about that when I was going over the evidence again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
Interesting.
You're right. That was Photoshop. Now, again, this is kind of going back to the episode 1. So, Goose is here, basically making the black man kissy face. He's saying that it does look like that character does resemble you, and this sort of thing. So it almost seems like Goose is trying to paint you to be the femboy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like I think in similar ways how Goose made some miscalculations on the things he said. You said it would be a biggest insult to look like that princess woman, right? And then we made AOs, and then Goose here said femboy confirmed. Now,
yeah,
do you think that Goose, among others, is guilty of trying to femboy you?
See, once again, because the root of the source here was Video Horror Society, a video game, I think it's more than likely he was joking. But I do think it's interesting how he came at me for calling me a femboy. But what I find more interesting is how is this evidence against me being called a femboy?
So the way that we got here was the way I was seeing this investigation was trying to figure out your motive behind all this. Now, I
see. You think I'm coming at Goose for revenge?
No. I part of it, and we'll get to that on Shaq Part 2. I think that you were the first person that they tried to femboy, right? I think the real root of the Femboy Files conspiracy might actually be you were the original victim, and now things have changed because of that, right?
And who do you think was coming at me originally as the original victim in your theory?
I mean, like looking at this, I could kind of see that it may have been Goose. I mean, I played along because I was expecting it to be a joke. We see that Perrin says he is a woman. It seems to be like Goose, myself.
I
kind
find
of ironically
it very interesting. We'll get into it more later, but I find it interesting you bring up me as the first victim because we come to a similar conclusion. Except once again, I don't find Goose the guilty party. I find you.
You find me to be the guilty party in all this. You think that I was the first person to try to femboy you?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have to look at some evidence for that. Do you have any evidence that kind of prefaces the stuff going forward? Because like after this, we start talking about the we start getting into where like Peter's starting to become bread and whatnot. Do you have any stuff that predates that we could look at?
About me being
stuff about you being the original femboy, because like the next 2 parts are about where things start to become Goose is now the femboy.
Yes.
So yeah, I like to see the evidence you have for people trying to femboy you and why you are the original victim. Because again, I think the Femboy Files conspiracy, as much as we talk about Goose,
and check.
Hey, what?
Observe or check.
Whoa, I was not the one that demoted you from whatever to femboy though. It sounds like I demoted you from femboy to femoid. Who is the one who originally made you a femboy?
You. It was the council.
It was a council? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And see, as True Bear said in chat, once again, the same guy. This is something that happened. This was your attempt to demote me from femboy to femoid. It's been fact-checked by True American Patriots that this was an event that happened.
Okay. All right. Look, what I'm saying is, it sounds like you were a femboy before this ruling was made. How did you get to become a femboy in the first place? Because it seems like a little bit.
My demotion and banishment from the Council of the Boys.
Okay. I actually kind of forget the lore that happened here. Okay, who's the boys against the boys, idiot?
So here's me clearly being kicked out.
Yeah.
And it was talked about in comms. Now, it wasn't put in text, unfortunately, but a lot of that was for being a femboy now.
Okay. Do you think that this was like a collective effort to announce you as the femboy? Or do you think there's like one single guilty party in all this?
And once again, here's you calling me a femboy directly.
Oh, that's an obvious joke. That's a quoting Seto Kaiba, you know?
But this is after you demote me from
demote you. This sounds like it was a council decision. You know?
You're on the council.
Okay, true.
But since we're on the topic of the council, which I'm glad we are, I want to just nip this early because it seems like the council is the same group who decided that it was time to make Goose a femboy. And once again, it seems like you're at the forefront of these decisions.
Okay, let's see this.
Because we have this, and we have this. You specifically talking about Goose when the boys were his Santa this year, and for his birthday last year, trying to get him, a skirt, mascara, massage oil, thigh highs, a skirt, an Astroglide. So once again, I ask, if I'm no longer part of the council of the boys, how could I have been a part of this when it clearly seems like you're the one doing it?
I'm just explaining what everybody got him for his birthday. Or not birthday, I mean Christmas. What makes you think that I bought all those items?
Everybody that's part of it.
I'm saying that. I mean, like,
now you're saying everybody that's part of the boys, which once again is everyone but me because I was kicked off, is guilty.
What I'm saying is, like, I think these were gifts that were just given to Goose. Maybe for his like girlfriend, maybe for his wife. One day. I think that's pretty nice of them.
Why would we be getting stuff for his wife which he doesn't have for his birthday?
Okay. You know what? I'll just admit it. You kind of got me on this one. I was cracking jokes. Considering I was investigating all this. Maybe I shouldn't be cracking jokes on such a sensitive issue. But
interesting. Mm-hmm.
I see where you're coming from with this.
Yeah.
Predating us making Goose the femboy and like going back to you, because this is a little bit outside of the purview of the timeline here. Anything that has to do with you being a target of the femboy, because we're gonna talk about part 2 of the the Shaq files, and that's where things start to become more focused around Goose. So we can circle back to more evidence you may have here in a second.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a lot of it other than the demotion from femboy to femoid.
Do you think that a lot of it was like scrubbed?
It did happen. I think a lot of it may have been actually.
Interesting. Who do you think?
A lot of it happened on voice comms. I think most of it happened on voice comms.
Who do you think's like scrubbed it then? I mean, I think you're the only one that could like delete stuff like that.
I think it's less likely it was scrubbed and it was just happened on comms.
Okay. All right, 1 second. Sorry.
But some of it got through. I was clearly recognized as a femboy by you for you to demote me to femoid.
I mean, like, it sounds like you're a femboy and then you got demoted to femoid. I don't think that I ruled you to be the femboy, and like council rulings are kind of universally anonymous anyway.
You seem pretty involved in the rulings of the council.
I mean, like, as a member of the council, I should be involved. It's like my duty, my public service.
So you admit you're part of the council and part of the group making the decisions.
I'm part of the council, but I will not comment, and nor should I have to comment on like what votes I did.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. We are moving on to Suspect Shaq Part 2. Now, for the context of this is where the Goose femboy conspiracy kind of was starting to reach its inception. So the way I portrayed this was it sounded like Goose was making fun of some elements of Last of Us. He was talking about like how LA should be turned into Doja Cat or something like that. And you go on to explain to Goose that he's a chimp and that he was gonna you were gonna give him the title of like bread. You know, I think it was bread at the time. It could have been that or femboy or something like that.
It was changed from bread, and I was threatening to change it back. Yeah.
Okay, so who started the title changes for Goose specifically? Because I know a lot of us in the server can't change titles. You know?
Oh, it was only me. Only I could control the titles, and a lot of it was we use the titles often to throw little jabs at each other.
Okay.
They're definitely not official labels by any mean, or serious labels by any means. I mean, like I have you labeled as investigator, and I mean, clearly there's too much bias here and planted evidence for you to be an investigator.
Planted evidence.
So,
okay,
yeah, the titles are definitely not a reflection of truth. In some instances, they are. For example, Gleroy's labeled as a toilet sleeper. He's fallen asleep on the toilet before.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were the one that changed Goose into bread, and you were also the one that labeled him femboy in the server.
Yeah. So going back to this instant, I see the things you have circled and the highlights. I'm not flat out saying this is why I have a conspiracy. I'm just like, Peter, this is why this is happening to you.
But
I'm a third party observer making observations.
Okay, but you kind of sound like the mafia. You'd be like, oh man, it'd be a shame if somebody like turned you into a twink because of what you just said to me, right? That's how it kind of comes off.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that this was just like some offhanded comment you were making. You're trying to like play it off as, oh, I wasn't involved, but this is why this is happening.
Yeah.
You kind of sound like a mafioso when you do that, right?
Except it's already been established that I'm not as part of the council of boys that has been getting Peter Goose feminine clothing.
Yeah. Okay, and kind of going to the top right, we have two people that kind of acknowledge how it's weird that you're very involved into pushing this femboy thing. So Goose, first of all, says, you really seem obsessed with this femboy thing. Methinks it's a bit of a projection, right? And then we have True Bear, who also acknowledged, since when did we allow, you, Shaq, to decide other people are femboys? So you say that, you're saying that like this is just something you're observing, but we have two people here.
Again, I was never telling people that Goose was a femboy. I was just making acknowledgement because it was a big haha joke at the time. Because it didn't seem real back then, It
didn't seem real.
So it seemed more plausible to joke about. It's not like you just outright being like, this is why we're getting you these things, haha.
Yeah.
It was more like, see, this is why this is happening.
Okay, so
more of a haha joke.
Do you understand that it's weird that like when I make a haha joke, you're like, oh man, you're guilty. But when you say these like weird, like again, mafioso sort of things, it's supposed to be a joke.
But once again, I'm not part of the council that is saying that. So for me, I clearly think it's a joke. But for you, you're on the inside.
Okay. So you're just saying because of your role, you can't be guilty, which I kind of disagree with. I think that you could be guilty and like working with other members of council.
We've all made, jokes about, like the government killing Kennedy. That doesn't mean we killed Kennedy. We're not part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if a CIA member was going around, making these little weird jokes about how, oh yeah, they were the sinking shooter or something like that. Yeah, that'd be a little weird.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, it seems like these two people, Goose and True Bear, think that this was not that much of a joke. They were just saying, like, oh man, it's weird that this keeps on happening, Well,
and once again, Goose clearly saying projection, as you showed on slide 1, he came at me first, calling me a femboy. So maybe this could be taken as jabs between us. Subconsciously.
Yeah, and the way
once
I thought
again,
about it,
True Bear, as I labeled before, he's an instigator. He likes to pull these strings, cause a little chaos every now and then, watch it unfold. So I think it's just, Peter and I, we're throwing tips at each other. True Bear, causing chaos, watching everything burn,
Okay. I if I remember the context of what he said at the time, it was kind of just like a one-off thing he asked. I don't think he was trying to instigate anything. We could definitely look at. I'll try to like do a little follow-up thing next episode. Just be like, yeah, here's the full context or whatever.
I mean, sometimes you only need you need just a little spark, and then he's done enough instigations. He knows what he can say and when he can say it. Just one thing, and then there's this huge calamity going on for entertainment.
Yeah, let me see if I can just find it real quick. Oh, I can't take a photo of this without scrubbing a bazillion names. So, okay. This is when we allow Shaq to set up people with femboys, and I said, I know this is uncharacteristic of me not to bully Shaq, but we are too far into the pink pill goose conspiracy rabbit hole to stop now. The conspiracy name really rolls off the tongue. This is me that said that. And then Goose's response was, my balls were rolling off her mom's tongue. Okay. All right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't think that he instigated anything with this one. I'm just talking about how we're deep in looking at this conspiracy. Okay. All right. Anyway, maybe this was a failed way for him to instigate something, but I don't know if I buy that.
I mean, it's
myself.
here now. It clearly worked.
You think that he instigated it to this point?
No, not necessarily, but it doesn't always have to work when you want it to for it to be successful.
Okay. Well, I just find this a little bit hard to believe. But let's move on to part 3 of this. Now, kind of running out of stuff to talk about, but this was following you saying it worked. And what worked was a conspiracy to turn Goose into a femboy. Do you think that Goose is a femboy now?
No.
Okay. You did acknowledge it. It may have worked, though. And Goose, going to suspect part 3, he said it did not work. I'm not a femboy. And good on him. Again, we don't want to see him be a femboy. It's not what we want.
You see, there was this strange arc that Goose was on where he'd be like, I'm not a femboy, then post some really weird femboy adjacent things.
I remember.
Yeah, it was a weird time,
Okay, so you just think it was
we're kind of through that. We braved the storm. Maybe we were at that precipice. He was reaching the point of no return.
You think that we were close?
It was getting really weird there with the things that were happening.
Yeah. I remember the tweet comment with him being being among wolves. That was wild. Okay.
But I think it's possibly we were right there. I think we've pulled back from it, thankfully. But things were looking real bleak there for him.
So, and what do you think is responsible for pulling them back? I think it was this investigation. What do you think it was?
I think the pressure wasn't able to last long enough to degrade his will. I think he was able to pull back a bit before this investigation started.
Okay. So you say that before the investigation started, things started to die. Okay. And we have finally Goose is saying, I refuse to be the server femboy. I will die before I allow this. Now, this is him responding to his server tag being changed to femboy, and then you patted him on his little head.
We've already talked about the satire nature of the server titles.
Okay, my poor man. That's all I'm saying. This guy's got done dirty by your satire nature of the server titles. I mean,
he's had some rough ones. You've had some rough ones. Gleeroy's had some rough runs. He's not been singled out. It's not been personal. It's just been going with the jokes at the time. Okay. But, and look how long ago this was. This is before we ever even had dreams of this being a conspiracy.
This segment we'll hear, I think it was 2024. If I'm not mistaken. Let me just go back to it. Oh, it's 2023. Never mind.
23. It's a long time ago. This is early days before we could even realize there's a coordinated effort here. This was before the mention of conspiracy was even being thrown around.
Yeah, the top left one was the 2024, so that one's more recent. Yeah. But the you patting him on the head was late 2023.
Yeah, I mean, these are nearly a year apart, just by a week. Yeah, a little over a week.
Well, I mean, I think the conspirators had a lot of time to kind of put this all together, and that if you being one of them, I think you may have had some time to kind of make this all work. But moving on from that.
What happened was the seeds were planted and everyone ran with it. Guilty, innocent, uninvolved. until things kept going, and then the lines started to become a little more clear.
Okay. And you think that you fall on the innocent side of all this, even after all the stuff we just looked at? You think it was just all harmless jokes on your end?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Kind of having established like what kind of you've done, is there anything like you would like to show the viewers, or any information you'd like to come forward with against one of the other suspects, or with or against?
You.
Me. Okay. Yeah. I'm saying that, like, as the investigator, I don't know why I'd have any reason to be guilty in this.
So observe here.
Okay.
First, before we continue too further, here's you admitting that there's a conspiracy to turn him into one. It's not a fake at this point.
Well, I mean, like, as the investigator,
Goose puts it, he believes it true. This is almost a year before the investigation.
Oh, this investigation has been in the work for a very long time. As an investigator, I'd hope to know that what I'm investigating is true. You know, I guess I don't see this.
That's not really the point of investigations. You're going in to determine, is it true? Who are the guilty parties? I believe you even said that going into this, that you want to determine if there was any merit to the conspiracy. But here, nearly a year ago, you're saying that it's true.
Well, I knew the conspiracy was true, but like
the boys of which you are a part of are getting him feminine clothing.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, I knew that it was true. When I talk about merit, I don't even think I said if there's any merit to conspiracy. I think I was more curious to see if anyone else saw the merit of the conspiracy. But it's more about like knowing, is this still true? Is it still ongoing? That sort of thing. But yes, I knew the conspiracy was going on for a while, because like as an investigator, this has kind of been something I've been looking into for a while. I have to get enough evidence and kind of prepare it to be presentable to an audience. So like, of course, I know a little bit about it even before this moment here. Mm-hmm. So, all right, what else?
I think what you said, there's some truth to what you said. You've had femboys on the mind for a long time.
Yeah, I do remember having some discussions on our podcast where it's like, would you rather,
Yeah.
Would you rather like bang X or Y? And it's typically like, exactly. We have definitely talked about this.
Who would you choose?
Definitely
you've talked about it many times. You would rather bang Femboy Pyrocynical.
I agree. Yep. I think between these three people, there's more attractiveness and femininity to be found with Femboy Pyrocynical. I agree.
Interesting. And we just have some more comments here.
Hey, 1 second. I'm gonna. We had somebody join Discord. I had to kick him out.
Yeah. We have you here asking about pyrocynical feet, asking if you can go to Femboy IHOP.
Let me go back. Okay, that first one was definitely a joke. I don't know what the context of that was, but that was 3 years ago too.
It was in relation to the conversation.
Whoa. Okay, and that Femboy IHOP one, that was a joke at the time, because that's when like the Femboy or goth, whatever, Femboy IHOP, that sort of thing.
So you're talking about serious.
It's funny you bring this up. It's really funny you bring this up, because we were talking about places to go with you, and I knew you'd probably enjoy Femboy IHOP. So like, of course, we wanted to go to Femboy IHOP. Just for
counterpoint, I have talked numerous times about how the best breakfast place is Denny's. So why would I want to go to IHOP?
Because there's no femboys at Denny's. We wanted to help you see some femboys, so we're thinking about Femboy IHOP.
Only you were thinking about Femboy IHOP.
That's because I'm the one that was planning hanging out with you in person, and I knew you wanted to see yourself some femboys.
You go to the same restaurant every time. That's the plan.
I know, but I wanted to mix it up. We wanted it to be special,
You would, you're right. You did want to mix it up, but not for me, for you.
But I could go to Femboy IHOP anytime I'd want. But this motherfucker,
sure you've done that a lot.
Doesn't have a Discord on your phone, so naturally, it was time to surprise him with Femboy IHOP. That's what I was planning. It's messed up that you do this, because I'm here trying to do a nice, friendly thing for you, and you're trying to turn it around, and it's like, oh, this guy likes femboys because he talked about Femboy IHOP in reference to me taking you there.
Yeah, because you're trying to act as this this altruistic adventure when you're also at the same time talking about how there's enough feminine qualities with Femboy Pyrocynical that you would have sex with him.
What compared to the Sladen sisters? Yes.
Okay,
That is a context to that.
That begs another question then.
What's the next
Who
question?
would you rather sexually please? The 1,000-pound sisters or Femboy Goose?
I'm sorry, Goose. I'm really sorry about this, but it has to be Femboy Goose. I have a survival instinct.
They will not pipe our goose. They will not pipe our goose. And who is the first person to say that he will pipe our goose? Who is the first person to say?
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry, Goose. I have a survival instinct. I am not going to get under those. Damn, somebody's fucking calling me right now. I will not get under those 1,000-pound sisters. I will get crushed to death. If it comes down to it, I have to do it. I'm sorry, Goose. That's just how it is.
Yeah. The first person to admit on camera that they would bang Femboy Goose is the investigator who claims they are not involved.
Hang on. I'm getting a call real quick. I'm gonna mute for a second for Mom.
They will not pipe our goose. This guy shouted from the mountaintops, Jet. And this is where we are. Thank you, True Bear. Put a lot of preparation for this one. For you, Goose.
Okay, super sorry about that. I'm not the only one in this household dealing with legal issues. Moving on. Okay, moving on. Yes, I'm sorry, Goose. It just has to happen. If it's between you and the 1,000-pound sisters, I don't know who would pick the 1,000-pound sisters. Chat.
I've already said multiple times, especially when it's them or my dear friend. I'm not going to do that to him. You know, I will endure and survive those behemoths.
All right, interesting. Chat, would you rather bang the 1,000-pound sisters, or would you rather bang Goose? Now, if you're for the 1,000-pound sisters, type 1. If you pick Goose, press 2. I don't think I'm alone in this chain of thinking of like 1,000-pound sisters are like the worst outcome ever. Okay, we have sisters for 1. Damn, I'm surprised, Big Thunder, that you subject your perfect body to that. Okay, Goose, you may have a bias on this. All right. And we have somebody who has legally advised not to answer. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I am surprised that not more people said Goose, but yes, you got me.
Not as many people are in on the conspiracy.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I said, this matches with what I said about...
What are the people that said sisters was Big Thunder?
I was just about to say this. Well, that matches what I wanted to say about Big Thunder. I never said Big Thunder wanted to do Goose. I said Big Thunder wanted to pimp out Goose as a femboy.
Okay. All right.
Big Thunder is a businessman. He doesn't do his own product.
I mean, we did theorize that he was part of the femboy industrial complex. Maybe that's part of just his ongoing, pimping action. Okay. Again, sorry for the phone call. Do you have anything else you would like to, any other, lame accusations you'd like to put up against me?
Interesting. More you talking about femboys. This is referring to the pyrocynical thing as your magnum opus. You've just had this fixation just for a long time. You've talked about this a lot.
What is this magnum opus thing in reference to?
It's referring to your... I meant to throw it in with the others.
It was in reference to like my magnum opus question is like whether or not...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following.
All in relation to femboys. You've been talking about this for a long time. You've been thinking about doing femboys for a long time. And now we have on record, on video, with an audience, that you would bang Femboy Goose.
Or again, the context is over 1,000-pound sisters. I can't believe I'm alone in this. Okay.
From
I'm
the
just saying.
mountaintops, you shouted, "They will not pipe our goose," and here you are talking about how you would pipe goose.
I would amend my statement to they will not pipe our goose unless 1,000-pound sisters.
Oh, we're
are the
shifting
only
the
other people.
goalpost. Interesting.
I'm surprised that you'd rather get crushed. I will die on this hill, but I'm surprised
I'm
you'd
gonna
rather get
endure and
crushed.
survive before I do that to my friend.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if we have anything else to go over. So, if the people you've named are guilty, what do you think should happen to them? So, as you know, like after this episode, I'm going to Goose himself and Bear himself, and we're gonna see what kind of justice is gonna happen. So, is there any sort of justice you'd like to see? So, we'll start off with like Big Thunder. What would you like? Again, like when I was talking with Leroy, I proposed that Big Thunder would donate, some subs to his, collections to the Captain Yo-Yo Foundation, where we could sell those off and support Goose. Do you think that's good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Big Thunder should give Goose some of his impressive life savings. Maybe Goose should even receive royalties for the attempt on his autonomy as an individual. Maybe we're even looking at jail time.
Okay, incredible. Do you think that Leroy in any way should be punished?
Leroy, put him in the nut house. I think he needs treatment for the betterment of society for himself. Okay. I think we need to see him medicated and treated.
And if you think that like they find you, guilty of any of this, what do you think should happen to you?
Well, I think I should be punished accordingly.
Okay, you just let them come up with the punishment.
Of course, yeah, it's my punishment. If I was guilty in the hypothetical, I should be punished as per the law. Of course.
All right. So if it's okay with anyone else, or if it's okay with you, would it be okay if?
Whoa! You skipped over one guilty party there.
I don't think I did, but
you skipped over yourself.
Okay. All right. Say they find me guilty. Like as investigator, I'd be surprised if I was, guilty. Yeah. But what would you say?
You should be canceled. Your investigation certificate should be taken away. You should be absolutely plastered over the internet as a spreader of misinformation.
Okay.
And you should be locked up with your cellmate as Big Thunder.
I don't know if I could do Big Thunder as a cellmate. Well, it'd be great at first, but like, what if he tries to groom me into becoming a femboy? I don't even know why I'm engaging in this.
In there with him. There's going to be a lot worse going on.
I don't know why I'm engaging with this. I don't know. People stand behind me, and as me as an investigator, it's kind of hard for me to be the guilty party. But okay, if it's okay with you, I think some of the other suspects, or maybe even some guests, would like to join the stream and kind of have a back and forth. This is supposed to be the final episode before the report goes to Goose and Bear. Would you be okay if we let Leroy or Big Thunder come and join the VC if they'd like to?
Of course. I have heard from Leroy. His internet is having issues, unfortunately.
I'm sure.
I don't know if you'll be able to speak to him specifically. But yeah, of course, I'd love to speak to Big Thunder and clear some things up with him.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me see about grabbing Big Thunder. Hey, Big Thunder, would you like to join me and Jordan, or would you rather sit it out?
You know what? Yeah, just bring me in for a second.
Okay. All right, Big Thunder has come and graced us with his presence. Mr. Thunder, again, I know you're a very busy man. Very happy to have you here. Have you been keeping up with tonight's stream?
I have, and I do have to admit that this has all been going to my plan, but for the most part.
What? What's your plan, Big Thunder?
My plan was to pit the two craziest people I know up against each other to find the truth behind all of this. If you remember, at the end of my interview, I had said that this goes far deeper than any of us could actually realize.
Okay. And what do you think was uncovered that you were looking for?
I mean, you're the investigator,
Okay.
but it was definitely putting more dirt on you than anything else. And this, the Council of the Boys.
I mean, you're on that council, right?
I am not a part of this council.
You are a part of this council. He was coming for everybody in the council.
This is straight up news to me.
Do you believe this, Mr. Shaq? Do you think that he thinks he wasn't part of the council right now? This seems
It
very
seems
unlikely.
odd, but I've been out for a long time. I don't know the current roster.
Okay, interesting. I find this very shocking that he doesn't think himself part of the council. Okay. Shaq leveraged an accusation against you that you were trying to turn 3 people into femboys. Me, him, and Goose. What do you say to that, Mr. Thunder?
He asked me a baited question. I answered honestly, and I shouldn't have.
Who asked you a baited question?
Me. I asked him
Shaq
if he was a pimp. He answered honestly.
Okay, so are you saying that you accept this, or are you like trying to deny it?
I am not trying to femboyize anyone. That would be way too easy. And honestly, I don't think my clientele would like it that much.
Okay, but like,
They are
but-
higher quality.
I know you threatened to femboy me, you threatened to femboy Shaq, and we suspect that you tried to femboy Goose. What do you say to these accusations that Shaq's brought up? Because he actually had some like receipts with this.
Oh yeah, no, there were definitely threats going around. I can't say that I wasn't going to go on against to agree with any of them, but there were no threats against Goose.
Okay, so you're saying you just tried to femboy me and Shaq?
There was more to those situations. I don't remember what the
So
context behind this.
are you like some like, how do I explain this? Are you some performer that like thinks they could just treat people like anything? Like you could just be like, yeah, this person made me mad, so I'm just gonna femboy them. Is that like is that how you go through life? Is that how your persona is?
No, but as you strictly recall from our first interview, you were saying that I was in a bit of a villain arc at the time.
But yeah, I think the words you said was, I stopped using crack for good, now I use it for evil, or something like that.
I do recall saying that, yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. You're saying that this was like some sort of drug fueled evil arc?
Yes.
Okay, so you admit that these things happen. Kind of.
Yes, but I have sworn off crack for good. Okay. I am now like 6 months clean.
He said he's sworn off.
This was
crack
like not
for
even
good,
6 weeks ago.
But he didn't discount swearing off crack for bad. Keep that in mind.
Wait, actually true.
Okay. Yeah. This first of all, this wasn't even that long ago when you had your villain arc. I think we could even pull it up if I look at it. But even with that being said, okay, I had an idea on like what should happen to you, and Shaq had a very similar idea on what should happen to you. Do you think that these forms of justice are like deserved at this point? Like, do you think that the Big Thunder collection should be given to Goose or given to the Cabniola Foundation to be sold for Goose?
Oh, I'm definitely not giving you a penny.
Okay.
But
combative. He does not want justice for Goose.
Hold on, that's not what I said. I did have a but there.
Okay. We know you have a but continue.
I could, in fact, donate a small portion to Goose.
Okay. A small portion to Big Thunder is a major portion to us normal people, just for chat to know.
Yeah, just about like 10% of a week.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Of a week. Holy fuck.
All right. Let it never be said.
On a pretty bad week is about 10,000.
Okay, let it never be said that Big Thunder is not generous. All right, Mr. Thunder, do you have any other closing comments for us?
I would like to thank Shaq for getting closer to the truth.
Closer to truth. Do you think the truth is not already like solved, or do you think there's more to it?
I do think that there's more to this. I do want to say that my employers are also very happy with this, and with that,
Employers?
I'm going to take my leave.
Wait, what was
See?
that?
This is profitable to him.
That ended off on an ominous note. Who do you think could employ Big Thunder? I think there's a party that is present that I can't really talk about that could employ Big Thunder.
I think we're talking about the same party.
I'm not allowed to speak about
Yeah.
this party, but
Yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength.
that's an interesting note. Okay. Well, anyway, do you have any closing statements for us, Mr. Shaq, before we wrap this up? I think the stream's been going on for like about an hour.
What needs to be said has already been said. I've shown the world what has happened behind the scenes. I'd like to hope that people can see what I've said, what you've said, what I've said, what you've said especially,
Man.
and realize who the guilty parties are and who the guilty parties are not.
Okay. Well, next week sometime we'll have Bear on panel and we'll have Goose on panel. They're going to make the final judgments revolving around this case. But thank you for coming on. I think that some of the stuff you said doesn't really like carry its weight, but we'll see what they say.
What about the stuff you've said, Captain Yo-Yo?
I think this
What
stuff.
about the things you've said?
I think I've said some things. Maybe I shouldn't joke about my investigations, but I think beyond that, I think I've been doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for coming, Mr. Shaq.
Thank you for having me, of course.
Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and flip off the stream. Thank you, everybody. I didn't see any questions posed by the chat, but for now, we'll go and let you guys go. Alrighty. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.